everybody! Magpi is here to talk about why Raeliana ended up at the Duke's mansion. Episodes 4 and 5 with my friend, JC Fergie. Hello, Fergie!
Hello!
Thank you for joining me today.
Yes.
So we start with episode 4, where Raeliana goes to a ball with Noah. You know, she got all primped up and she's turning heads wherever she goes. But one of the things that Noah tells her is that she should not be away from him for more than 5 minutes. Like, controlling much, Mr. Noah, but okay. Another thing is that he gives her not just Taylor, but another 4 knights to be her guards during this event. So I don't know if he's expecting anything weird to happen, or if it's just for show, or what's going on. Suffice it to say,
well, considering what happens, you know, it almost seems like he might have had a tip or something.
Yeah, if he's so anxious for her to stay close by, why was he so quick to send her off to do this task of getting all buddy buddies with some lady from a mysterious women's society? So okay, Noah, I guess you're sending off various mixed messages, whatever. Raeliana is the talk of the town, and she talks to all these people. When people want to dance with her, Noah rejects them for her. Okay. And then
I thought that was kind of nice.
You thought that was nice?
Well, it seems like she seemed absolutely uninterested, and then he comes up and, you know, sure, they're acting a couple right now, but I don't know, it almost seemed like she genuinely appreciated compared to the other flies.
Yeah, I suppose so. A lot of people would say well, why do you have to be so possessive? So yes, I guess if they're talking about playing the part, he's doing an admirable job of it. That is true.
But then you can't get away from just immediately afterwards when they cut to the ballroom dancing, and then it's just these horribly stiff 3D models awkwardly rotating around in the background. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
So the look of this anime is what I would call experimental. You got all kinds of things going on. So we got 3D models with shaded faces dancing in the background. I was actually watching this episode with my sister, and I was cringing. I was oh man, what is she gonna say? This is all so weird. But she was no, it's fine, it's cool. So I was okay, at least somebody who's watching this blind is not too upset by it.
Maybe your viewing experience was tainted by that kind of expectation to oh no, what is she gonna think about it? Were you?
Yes, kind of like that. Yeah, because it's a totally different kind of way of animating anything. I've never seen any anime do this. So it's experimental, and I was worried that she would be turned off by it. But so yeah, that's why it kind of messed up my experience, you might say. It's just I was worried that my sister or somebody that I was excited for somebody to like it. I was I hope that this doesn't turn her off, you know?
Oh yeah, just you want to tune in for a really cool episode, but meanwhile you're just oh no, and then you start becoming ashamed of it, and you're just oh, what are they gonna think?
Yeah, exactly. And so we have this dance sequence. So, okay, the animation for the dancing was not the smoothest, at least for just Raeliana and Noah. It was not the smoothest, was not the perfect, but I do appreciate the fact that they actually did dance. There's so many shoujo animes that during any dance scene sequence, they're just drifting sideways, and they don't do any turns, they don't do any spins. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. They could have done the scrolling, moving, colorful background while they're just in a pose, you know.
Which they did do in maybe only 2 parts though. Overall, they were just dancing. And my favorite shot was the bird's eye view when he spins her around as they dance across the ballroom floor. So I was yay, I love that. I did really appreciate that extra bit of effort. And while we do get 3D backgrounds and stuff, I didn't mind, because while this was all going on, we're getting their banter, which was, I thought, pretty funny. Those two, they get along just fine. But while Raeliana is dancing, we see figures that appear, shady figures that appear in the background, and she also gets the feeling that she's being watched. At this point, we don't know what's going on or who's watching. She thinks it is the villainous Vivienne Chamal. We won't know until later, of course. Oh, and finally, one of my favorite parts in this dance is that, you know how in the webcomic he dips her back in the dance? And I always thought that was like clunkily drawn. Like it was just, I was like, he's holding onto her leg. Her leg looks weird. But I liked how they drew it in the anime. So it makes more sense anatomically speaking.
Oh yeah, that is awkward.
Do you see it? So I'm like, that leg, that anatomy is so weird.
Well, it actually looks like he's holding her appropriately in the anime, where in the manhwa, it's just like, I'm about to swing you like a baseball bat.
Yeah, and
like...
that leg, it's like, who has ever seen such a leg on a person? I liked how they did it in the anime. They just drew it very nicely. By the way, in the ball, she sees Nick Maddox talking to like all the girls and, you know, talking them all up and talking about fashion, typical Nick Maddox way, right? But she still feels like a presence that's like looking at her, and it's all ominous. So we get the rundown on who Vivian Shamal is at this point, because she remembers that this woman is very significant in the story. And we know that Vivian used to have her sights on Noah, but he rejected her time and time again, and so she decided that since she couldn't have him, that she would have the next best alternative. You know, who else but the king? Boo-hoo. I mean, come on, don't you want to be a queen, girl? Why would you go for the younger brother? I don't know.
See, now I'm sure you're 100% right on all of that. The only thing I remembered going into is that she's popular enough to have a smile named after her.
Oh, that's true. So we learned that in the original novel, when Vivian sees that Noah is in love with another girl, in this case Beatrice from the original novel, she makes Beatrice's life very, very difficult. So Raeliana at first is hiding away, trying to not get on her bad side, but she's basically thrown into her clutches. Not on purpose though, because all she wanted to do was talk to the mousy little lady next to her. So Noah wants her to become buddies with Paris or Aris Eritiel, or Faris Eritiel, whatever her name is.
I'm just gonna say Faris because that's the sub I'm going with.
Fine, let's go with Faris Eritiel. So Noah wants her to get close to Faris Eritiel and to get from her an invitation to this mysterious women's group that apparently has quite a lot of sway in politics. And as she goes, she gives him a parting shot, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, but I'm going to make you do something for me in return, because that's the nature of the relationship they have at this point. And she makes a face that apparently is charming to him. One of the things that they skipped in the anime is that as she passes by, like, she hears people talking, especially the men talking, and they're talking amongst themselves as they look at her, and they're like, oh, like, didn't you almost get engaged to Lady Raeliana? And then they're like, yeah, I should have gotten her when I had the chance, or like, yeah, but back then she was always, you know, like this mousy little girl, and, you know, I didn't know she was that pretty. And so everybody's just talking about her and what a transformation she's made, which is actually because of her new persona that woke up inside her. I think that before she would definitely have kept her head down and been more meek, but now with the fact that there's another person inside her, like, obviously she exudes more confidence, and obviously that's gonna attract men more. But anyway, they skipped this little bit in the anime, and they just went right ahead into where she spills the wine glasses on Faris Eritiel.
Like, when I watched it in the anime, like, because I didn't really remember too much about her, just the way that she immediately puts up the plate to block it, it was just like, did she know it was coming? Is it, like, what type of anime is this? Is she psychic? And I'm just like, no, I'm overthinking this. Just stop it.
That's when Vivian comes in. Vivian, you know, I do love a redhead character. I love redheaded characters because they're so interesting and they're so few and far in between at times. So,
I just don't like how
Vivian
their typecast is just either like evil or brash. Like,
yeah. So
why can't we just have like fun redheads without being like, I don't know.
Yeah, without being too abrasive, right? So
yes.
Yeah, so we get Vivian, and part of me thinks her character design is so weird because, you know, she needs to use a brush on that hair, and she needs.
Oh no, I like it. I like it.
Well, yeah, but if you're a queen in training, you have to like polish up. I get it. You know, there's the wild hair blowing in the breeze.
I think that's literally it. They're just going for like the wild, untamed hair. Like, it's like aggressive bedhead, but it rocks.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I love it, but I'm like, you're gonna be a queen. Come on, dude. Where's your tiara? Where's your dignity? She has no such dignity. She's just like, I am here making my presence known. There's no way that anybody's gonna like not know that I am in the room because I'm taking so much space and so much attention. Bright yellow dress, a décolletage that's basically showing her bra, unless that's actually something that she was going for. Hair that's woof all over the place. This lady, she means business when she wants to be the queen. So Raeliana is totally opposite of her in many respects, but when it comes down to noble speak, like she meets her word for word. She does not back down at all. In fact, one of my favorite lines in this episode is from Raeliana. And in the dub, I don't know how it says in the sub, but in the dub it says, no matter the setting, if someone throws down the gauntlet, it's common courtesy to pick it up. And go Raeliana. Vivian is trying to tell her off by telling her that she's from a lower status, that she is inexperienced in society and all these things, but Raeliana is like really great at turning things around. And not only that, but suddenly Nick comes up and he saves the day.
Oh, Nick just knows how to like throw down just the right amount of sass, and he was able to diffuse and redirect the situation, allowing Raeliana to get out, which was, you know, what we wanted as a audience. But no, I think him fighting with Vivi and getting all feisty was just the right amount of comedy we needed right now. Like, I don't know how it translated out, but when he was doing like the sneezing kind of like bitch kind of sneeze, like it's a bitch you in is the subtitles, and it's like, okay, that's just a little bit of a stretch. That had to probably be more like proper in the native tongue.
Honestly, I was like, dude, like, okay, so you had to resort to calling names. Like, I think Raeliana would have done better than that, but okay, we appreciated it. And if you read all the comments in Crunchyroll, everybody goes crazy and they love him for calling her a bitch through his sneeze. I was like, okay, so everybody's like on board. I'm like, okay, fine. But honestly, I was like, Nick, you could have done better than that. Still, it is very shocking and it gets the job done. Vivian is totally distracted by him and Raeliana is able to run off. I like the fact that Nick has Raeliana's back. Even though such a short acquaintance, they're already buddies, and I like the little high five that they gave each other as she passed by. Here's where the action starts, I suppose.
Well, no, we got to talk about like the knights and Ainsley and
yes. We're gonna talk about that's where I'm heading to, because let's remember that Raeliana is still being followed by 5 guards, right? And they're gonna go to a ladies' washroom. So the Faris is like, "Hey, are we gonna be followed by these people? Like all of them?" So Raeliana is like, "Okay, only the lady knight come and follow us. The rest of you can go back." And I'm like, no, Raeliana, no. Tell him to wait outside the room. Why must everybody go back?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah, apparently nobody thinks these things through in this manhwa, because yes, they all, or in this anime, because yes, they all just leave and Raeliana is left with only 1 guard knight inside the room.
Like, you could send one individual to go talk to Noah and be like, hey, Raeliana's doing the thing you wanted. The rest of them are waiting outside.
Yeah, that's a very convenient plot hole that they, I don't know. Without this, there wouldn't have been a kidnapping and all that stuff that happened afterwards. So I guess it was a necessary thing that they had to do. And I don't know if you listened to the dub at all, which I'm pretty sure you haven't, since you're not a dub person, but I found it really awesome. I recognize the voice of the lady knight, and she actually did the voice in Tomo-chan in the English dub. It was like encountering an old friend with the red-headed knight. That was fun. Unfortunately, even though it's Tomo-chan, with all her power and her sword, she is unable to stop what happens next. After Raeliana gets her invitation that she so wanted from Faris, they decide to return to the ballroom. But as the door opens, there's a smoke coming through and Raeliana is kidnapped. So that is the end of episode 4. Any thoughts about this episode?
It was a 5 until the last 10 seconds, and then it went to about a 7.
So it was a 5 because of animation or story-wise, or what?
Animation, like, I'm gonna always complain about the animation with this one. It seems like a lower budget anime in comparison to a lot of other ones. But story-wise was mainly it, because they set up Vivian to be, I was expecting more of a villainess so far, and then we immediately cut into it. It's just like, oh no, we're gonna subvert all your expectations and get kidnapped, which I think works better for this next coming episode, but it makes this episode feel less important. Because just, I don't know, I feel like we get nowhere with the whole Vivian plot that was set up from the previous episode. So
maybe at this point, anime-only viewers would be like, oh, is it Vivian who's exacting her revenge or something like that? Because people were not sure who were the people behind the kidnapping. I even got some messages. They were like, do you think it's Vivian or do you think it's Francis? So at this point, maybe they were just throwing in Vivian to cause some confusion and to make people guess. But pretty soon in the next episode, we know who are the people behind the kidnapping. And
yeah, they revealed that like right away.
Yeah. So anyway, episode 4, I like, despite the fact that it's clunky, I like the dance scene. I just appreciated the fact that they took the time to animate some dancing, some spinning, some, I don't know. It was just nice. I didn't have to be subjected to just like, whoosh, a panning shot of like flowing dress or whatever all the time. We had some movement there. I appreciated that. And I will turn a blind eye to the strange CGI figures in the background if I just focus on the banter that's going on with Raeliana and Noah, which is pretty easy because they're pretty cute together. Alright. So that is episode 4. Let's go into episode 5.
You start in a moonlit forest, watching a carriage go down a path. Horribly CG animated horses.
Well, at least they're keeping it consistent, right? You know, if there's a horse, it's gonna be CGI. We are in this mashup world of 2D and 3D. Francis himself is the driver of that carriage. Like, he could not afford to find somebody to drive the carriage. No, it had to be Francis. I don't know if this was Jake's idea or Francis' idea. I think it might have been Jake's idea to like humiliate Francis. Like, you're no better than a common coachman. Like, you drive the wagon.
Well, I think it's twofold, because that totally makes sense. But it's also revealed later that he has next to no money, and the reason he's doing all this stuff is for money. So maybe he just can't afford to hire someone.
When I was watching the sub, I was really confused, and I know you picked it up because I watched your reaction, like about why Sophie, you know, the girl that started all this mess, why she killed herself, or what were her intentions. The anime gives us some of that insight, but the manhwa is actually clear. So it says that Francis Brooks' only talent was converting a woman's love into money. Women were attracted to him like magnets, and one of them was Sophie Langston, the sister of Jake Langston, and she was devoted to Francis enough to put herself in debt for him, but all she got in return was a cheap ring and an empty promise of a future marriage. But Francis didn't know that she was not quite there, and she was very persistent. So unlike the women from before, Sophie Langston didn't give up on Francis Brooks so easily. And to change his mind, she threatened to kill herself. So it wasn't like she was going to save him. Like, I was like, what do you mean you're going to save him? Save him from what? The sub was kind of weird. So I'm glad that we got the clarification in the webcomic, and also in the dub version, they make it clear that she was gonna kill herself and threatening him.
Well, that's good. Maybe they need to go back and change those subs.
Yeah, maybe they should. She dies accidentally, and Jake, her brother, witnesses that, and I don't get this guy. Like, he's awful. His younger sister died, and he's just going to take the opportunity to blackmail her ex-boyfriend to do this dirty work for him. Like, I don't know, man. This is pretty shady, pretty bad stuff. That doesn't mean that Francis is off the hook, though. So Raeliana wakes up and she finds that there's this guy in there, and she's trying to figure out what's his purpose for kidnapping her. And he says that his purpose is revenge because of his sister's death, and he's just has this strange vendetta, which makes no sense, honestly. The guy's just a lunatic.
Yeah, his justification for the entire situation's already messed up, like trying to say, hey, what would your sister think? He clearly doesn't actually care about what his sister thinks if he's going through all of this to use the fiance that kind of put the sister in that situation as a pawn of his own. It's just completely messed up.
Yeah, he's just crazy. He's a lunatic, and we get more of that later when he's about to be captured and he gives his sob story. But he knows exactly what he's doing. So I don't know. There's just like these psychotic cases that you don't want to anger, because I'm sure that he was definitely gonna slice her face up. So another thing that's different in the anime than in the webcomic is that in the anime the axle broke, the wheel broke in the carriage, whereas in the webcomic Francis just comes in and says like, hey, we gotta get out of here, abandon the carriage. And I'm not sure why he said that in the webcomic. Probably he noticed that they were being pursued, so they were just gonna ditch the carriage and go on foot, trying to hide from their pursuers. In the anime, the carriage breaks, and when Jake Langston jumps out, I'm like, Raeliana, take this chance and jump out yourself and run the other way. She does afterwards when she confronts Francis. And like a good girl, she goes and she distracts him and pushes him, and she jumps out in her high heels, runs into the forest like a boss.
In high heels.
In high heels. It's better than running barefoot, though at this point I myself would be getting off those high heels and running barefoot, but that's just me.
Yeah, no, I'd rather run barefoot through a forest than in high heels. Like, I don't know, she must just be really proficient in heels.
Yeah, I would never be able to. She hides behind a tree and she's about to have like a little bit of a nervous breakdown. Like she's like, I'm gonna die. But then she's like, gathers her wits about her and she's like, nope, I refuse to die. I am going to make it through. And I love this about Raeliana. She does not wait for help. Like, yeah, she does get help from somebody, but she doesn't get frozen by the circumstances around her. She takes action. So she slices her dress off, you know, as one does, but she still continues on high heels. Or does she leave the high heels?
It's easier for me to run in heels.
Yeah, so she's going off in her little short dress. She leaves her little veil behind, so apparently the veil makes it harder for her to run than the heels would, but okay. She's running through the forest, and then there was like a precipice or something, and she was about to fall over, but somebody caught her, but not just caught her, but also covered her mouth. And who should it be but Noah? No, it is Adam Taylor, of course. Hooray for him finding her somehow at last.
Adam Taylor's appearance when he first shows up is just kind of weird. It's just like, hey, I'm here. I need you to shut up here for a second. We're being trailed. But like, I don't know, just the way, I know he's supposed to be like this different race of like very, I don't know, emotionless people, but seeing him look just so emotionless, I don't know, there's no other word for it. It just looks like a stone brick the entire time. And it comes off as bland, but that's kind of his whole point. I don't know, he seems cooler in the webcomic.
But he is a badass, and he waits for Raeliana's instructions whether to kill Jake Langston or not. Ultimately, she can't bring herself to order Adam to kill a man, because even though the guy's like the lowest of the lows and he's a crazy lunatic, she just cannot have that in her conscience. So she hesitates, and when she hesitates, that guy summons forth using some kind of like, I don't know, like a drug or something, a substance that brings forth like monsters to them. He called forth,
I think it was like a pheromone or something, you know, like, I don't want to say like bear urine or something like that, but like that's what comes to mind. It's just like, oh, okay, it's going to attract a wild beast of something.
Yeah. So it attracts a wild beast, and it's a mountain monkfish or something. And the thing is huge, and it looks really awful and disgusting. It looks even scarier than in the webcomic. And
so big it can't even fit into frame.
Yeah, it just looks like a blob. Adam Taylor has to, you know, save her from this peril. But behind them, they have this, you know, let's not forget that she was about to, like, there was like going to be a place where she was gonna fall, but Taylor saved her from it, so it's still there.
Yeah, I didn't even pick up on that. I just thought he was just like, I'm gonna make you quiet for a second, you know? Because after that, like after he grabbed her, he kind of like did the shush kind of gesture. So I didn't even pick up that he was like stopping her from tumbling over a potential cliff.
Yeah, We get him slaying the beast, but he also pushes her. He pushes her. Even though she told him that there was like a cliff behind him, he actually goes and deliberately pushes her off the cliff. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why? Well, our poor girl, it's the second time that she's experienced being pushed off a cliff.
Yeah, she gets full PTSD as she's falling, like remembering the past experience.
Oh no, the poor thing. What the anime doesn't show, however, is that in the webcomic, he first looked back down the cliff, and then he gave a nod as if like he was getting a message from whatever was down there, and then he pushed her. So it was like, it's not, well, it is kind of scary seeing her being pushed off, but I see that there's a deliberate decision that he made. There's a reason why he pushes her, or at least I get that impression in the webcomic, that there's a reason why he pushed her. And we already know the reason now that we watched the anime, because who was down there to save the day? Noah!
And it's a touching moment, but for only a split second before she's just like, Adam's in trouble, save him. I'm just
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? Adam is like the most badass person in this anime. He's got this.
That's right. Yeah, I like that shot where she's like trying to get out, like arms flailing, legs flailing. She still has her high heels on. Like at this point, even if I had run with high heels, I would have lost the shoe here and another there. But she still has them on even after the fall. How admirable. The creature, I guess Adam Taylor tossed the creature off down the cliff as well, because suddenly the creature appears in front of them, dead as anything. Really disgusting shot of like blood and viscera there.
Yeah, why is that the most detailed shot in this entire show?
It's just to show just how badass Adam Taylor is. I think this shot where he slayed the beast in the moonlight, that was really awesome. And then we get Ainsley, the red-headed knight. She comes in belatedly, but at least she was able to capture Jake Langston, who had run off into the forest. That little part where Raeliana waves at him like hell happily, and then she makes that motion of slicing the throat. Ooh.
Well, he did it to her earlier, so it's equal payback.
Yeah, that's right. So he gets freaked out, but not only that, but even
everyone else, Ainsley's just like, are you kidding me? What is wrong with this chick?
Yeah, they're super shocked that she's kind of like also a bit not quite normal. But they put her through so much, and they would have killed her. They would have killed her without a qualm. So yes, she is totally entitled to lord it over him. Like, seriously, dude.
She wasn't expecting her to not be like a lady, you know. She was expecting someone to be like, oh my god, in tears the entire time. And she's like, no, I want to kill this guy.
Yeah, you're going to die. And
then speaking of trying to kill a guy.
Yeah, you think that Francis got away? Nope, he did not.
She steals Noah's gun. God, this was like a police thing. She'd immediately just be like sliced down or something like that. Don't go for an officer's gun. This guy's a knight or equivalent or something. Just don't go for a guy's weapon. That's just dangerous. You're asking to be hit. But she gets away with it, and she proceeds to almost murder another guy.
Or at least remove him of his family heirlooms. Speaking of which, in the webcomic, he wet his pants.
Oh,
They missed that little detail. Why not totally like humiliate this guy? Like, they should have put that he was whimpering and being a cowardly rat that he was. He wet his pants when Raeliana shot him. I think if they wanted to show that he wet his pants, they would have done like an animation of like suddenly like this shade spreading out.
Yeah.
Why are we fixating on the fact that a man didn't wet his pants? I don't know. I just thought
because
it
he
was...
needs to be humiliated more.
Exactly, right? Let it be known, everybody, that Francis Brooks wet his pants, okay? No wonder she was so relieved and so happy after she scared him like that. She got her revenge. And everybody again looks at her with shock at just how she reacts to this whole situation. Now, oh my gosh, she has the great burden of riding back home in Noah's horse. Oh boy, what a punishment.
People I hate the most, Noah.
Yeah, and in the webcomic, his name knocks out Francis Brooks' name.
I don't know how that makes any sense. Shouldn't Francis like go up 10 places? Like, you tried to get me killed. What the hell is wrong with you? Why does Noah become #1 after that?
I think just because she cares more about what Noah thinks. If she didn't care about him, if she didn't start to catch feelings, then she wouldn't have cared about his slight digs. Because he's just being childish at this point, and so they're both being childish.
Well, Noah has like legitimate reason to still be suspicious of her. Because Raeliana has that leverage over him, or at least like supposed leverage from the first episode that still hasn't really been touched on yet. Just, hey, the seal thing, the whole plot, the reason that any of this is happening, we haven't touched on it. It's fine.
We get this inner monologue. As he and Raeliana are going back home, he has this inner monologues like, why was I so upset when I heard that she got kidnapped? Like, why did I get so angry? And ultimately, if she had been killed, it would have been to my advantage. But why was he so upset? And we all know that he's catching feelings at this point.
Yeah.
And evidence of him catching feelings is the fact that he changed his mind and he orders Adam to, dispose of those 2 baddies. And that is the end of the episode, or so they would have you think, because we get an after credits scene. Oh boy, make sure that you watch that after credit scene.
Get your print screen button ready for those wallpapers.
Raeliana wakes up in bed wearing a shirt. It's not her shirt. It's somebody else's shirt. Hint, hint,
Someone
it's
else
Noah's.
is missing theirs.
And next to her is Noah, shirtless, and she freaks out, as one would if you wake up in the bed of another man and he's not fully dressed. And that's the end of episode 5.
I like the episode. I had a lot of fun with it. It got a good laugh out of me from the reactions at the end, with everyone's reactions to Raeliana.
And I like the fact that we continue to see a Raeliana who is just not going to wallow in self-pity. She is determined that she's going to survive this. She's going to make it out of her situation alive. She won't die a second time. Alright, so the next episode is going to be called Why Raeliana Cosplayed. Looking forward to that. Especially with...
Yeah, it'll be a fun episode.
I hope they don't mess up the Adam Taylor shots.
They're going to.
Yes, they're going to. Why?
That's just how the budget rolls.
That's just my main gripe with this anime. Like, I need more derpy, cute Taylor. Come on.
I love the set piece shots. I love the landscapes and all the background sceneries, but everything else in between is so frustrating. Like, I'm disappointed. Like, this has a lesser budget in animation than Bookworm did, and I don't know. I was still disappointed by Bookworm's animation at times. So this one is just, I'm just like, okay, I gotta stop thinking about this. I just accept it for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, the VAs, both in Japanese, English, and Spanish, they're doing such a standout job. I couldn't be happier with the voice acting, and art direction is very pretty. When it comes down to it, like, I'm like, I'll take it. I'll take any adaptation of such a great story.
I'm just saying, for something that I really enjoyed, and as being one of these like really big sort of kind of manhwas, especially for this kind of genre, because the first few ones that came over were just straight up shonen action stuff, for us to get like the other side of the coin, and have it be as lackluster in a sense, especially in contrast to the ones that came before. I just can't help but hoping for more.
Yeah. So all in all, I have hopes that this won't be just the one season.
We're gonna need like 3 seasons.
Yeah. But I am very, very happy with the fact that it's getting positive reviews, despite the clunkiness of animation. It is getting very positive. Like, the people in the comments, they're receiving it very well. Like, except for the 1 or 2 trolls that's saying like, oh, I don't like this, whatever. Everybody who's new to this story. They're like saying like, this is a great story, I can't wait for more. So I just want to encourage everybody who's watching just to continue to support these, to give your support with thumbs up or like comment on it or whatever. Just hype this story more. That way we can get the whole thing adapted. It has such awesome twists toward the end about what is actually happening with Raeliana and how she ended up isekai'd into this world, that it should be definitely explored.
I agree 100% with what you said.
All right, Fergie, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about Raeliana, and I hope that we can do this again soon. Again, Fergie is doing reactions for Raeliana, so if you haven't already, check him out. It's really fun to see you react to those things with your trademark snark, of course, at times. So yeah, check his channel out, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you know exactly when his reactions drop. All right.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure being here.
It's always a pleasure having you. Take care, Fergie.
You too.